Our business as stated on our agenda. The public waiver has been presented to the public as required. Next item, meeting minutes. Hopefully everyone has had an opportunity to review the minutes from our prior meeting. Any comments, updates, modifications? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the meetings as the meeting minutes from our prior meeting as stated.
Got it.
Second, all right. So properly moved and seconded. We accept the meeting minutes. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. First order of business, we have with us HV Land Co. for an amendment of a preliminary approval. Who is on hand today? Come on up.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm with the HV Land Co.
Awesome. Now, you're obviously amending. If you don't mind, just give us a little
absolutely.
bit of background on the project and then what's driving.
It's a 251-unit project out in West Nashville, right near the One Bellevue, kind of the one. There's one exit past Bellevue. Most people don't know that, but we're right there at that exit on the south side of the exit. It's again 251 units. We closed in I guess it was November, December of last year with the original $43 million bond allocation. Our cost came in significant at the end of the year, specifically site cost. And in order to hit our 50% test for the THCA, for us to get our credits, we need to have a little bit more bonds in order to hit that. That's kind of a consistent theme across most projects that happened last year. And so we actually did another one with you guys last year, a similar situation. And so we're here asking for an additional bond issuance. The state has a special allocation for the supplemental issuance as part of their program for this specific situation. So just cost continue to increase, not quite at the hockey stick level that we were, but still significantly going up.
And just for the board's knowledge, what was the preliminary approval for before?
43.
Okay. All right. Anyone have any questions about this project? Now, this one hasn't been started yet.
We've just started.
Okay,
like
is it the
moving,
one you can see off the highway there?
No, this one's for a little bit further south.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, seeing that you all have already been approved and you're seeking an amendment, I will entertain motions from the board for approval if there are no questions.
I notice it says public hearing. Is there some reason for that? I would have.
Yeah.
It's required because it's an
Preliminary?
increase. Because it's an increase. So the original
Okay.
public hearing was for 43. To have a new public hearing.
There you go.
on the increase.
Okay. All right. Well, at this time, we'll open up the floor for a public hearing. Anyone here to speak for or against this project? All right. I'll close the public hearing, and at this time, I'll entertain any motions for approval.
Move approval of the amendment.
Any second?
Second.
All right. So properly moved and seconded that we approve HV Land Co. in the upgraded amount of $49 million. All right.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so for preliminary approval, the next item we have NHC Nashville Christian Towers nonprofit seeking $26 million. Anyone here to speak on behalf of that project? Yeah. If you don't mind, just come up, tell us your name, tell us about the development and what you guys are up to.
My name's Major Lee. I represent the developer, Involved Communities. Nashville Christian Tower is a 175-unit, 100% HAP property located in southeast Nashville. A nonprofit has owned the property for the past 30 years or so, and we are under contract to purchase that property and hopefully close later this year around November. So the plan would be to, once we close on the credits and get our HUD loan under order, we would do a significant renovation of the property. That would include replacement of all major systems, interiors, cabinets, kitchen and bathroom appliances, community rooms would all be refreshed, new roof, and essentially anything that the property needs to continue to maintain the same level of comfort for the residents. So property hasn't been rehabbed in quite some time. It's certainly in need of a rehab at this point. and we're excited to be able to do that for Nashville Christian Towers and its residents.
Gotcha. What's the current occupancy rate? And first question, and second question, if depending on the occupancy rate, how will you move folks around and get their units rehabbed and whatnot?
Yeah, so current occupancy rate's around 98%. Given that it's a HAP property, it's historically operated at a pretty high occupancy rate. The good part about this property is there are significant square footage of community rooms on site. So we haven't exactly nailed down the construction plan at this point, but we typically like to do in-place rehabs where we keep the tenants in their units, not inconvenience them with moves to hotels or anything like that. During the day, the contractors will come into their units. They'll be provided accommodations, food, snacks, whatever they need at community rooms. And then at the end of the day, their unit will be put back to a livable condition, and they'll be able to return to their unit to sleep and whatever they want after 5 p.m.
Okay, so you don't project anyone needing overnight stay outside their unit?
No.
Do you anticipate that the rental prices will, and I'm sorry.
No, go for it, yeah.
Do you anticipate that the rental prices will increase, stay the same?
So as part of these 100% HAB deals, whenever we want to do a rehab, we have to submit to HUD for what's called a markup to market, which is essentially where we get a rent comparability study for the area. We have a third party that does that study. Potential market rents are priced on a post-rehab basis, so we give them our scope and how much work we're anticipating putting into the building, and then they'll shoot us back rents that are comparable to what other apartment complexes in the area are charging. As part of our markup to market application, we'll include that rent comparability study and the rents that we're asking for post-rehab, and those will have to be approved by HUD. So there will be a rent increase, but it will be approved by HUD and within the guidelines of what you'd see in the area for a comparable rehab.
So do you know what the upper limit of the rent increase might be?
Right now, it's around $1,500 a unit would be the post-rehab rents.
What's the size unit?
They're at $1,050.
What, one bedroom?
One bedroom, two.
They're all one bedroom.
Oh,
It's all one unit type, one bedroom, one bath.
Okay, 1,000 square foot, one bedroom. Okay, it's a decent size.
Okay, so it's what's the current rent that you said you would anticipate it going up to?
Current rent is $1,035.
Okay, that's a pretty big increase.
Yes.
So with that increase, are you projecting that there will be turnover in the current resident population, or do you assume most people will stay and just...
No, most people will stay given the fact that it's 100% covered by a HAP contract, so these tenants have a significant portion of their rent covered by HUD. So they're paying a marginal fraction of what
their percentage increase will be small despite...
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Do you have an idea what that percentage increase would be then?
That they're paying?
No. I mean, if the rent goes up from 1,000 to 1,500, what increase? What's the actual increase for the resident?
It'll vary based on how much income the residents are bringing in, if any. So it'll vary from resident to resident. I couldn't generalize that guess across the board, but I could provide a rent roll and get back to you and show you kind of what the increase would be, high to low, across the resident base.
Okay. Yeah,
If that's helpful.
I think that'd be helpful. I mean, speaking obviously just for myself here, I just have issues approving, and now we're just the preliminary approval stage, but I just have issues approving anything that is going to increase rent. I mean, the focus here is affordable housing, right? So if we're approving an improvement to development, that's great, but if it actually increases the rent, it seems like that's sort of counterproductive to why we're all here.
When was the last date of renovation of this facility? You said it had been in the same hands for 30 years, I think. Is that you?
Yeah, they've never undergone a substantial rehab since the construction of the building. So
Okay, so everything's pretty significantly, so it needs help.
And we will be spending almost $11 million on the rehab.
Oh, wow.
The rehab alone, aside from the purchase price. So it'll be around a $56 million project.
So in each unit, are they all getting the same upgrades? Like, can you just kind of?
It's pretty standardized, especially given the fact that these are all one unit type. So in order to keep things clean and concise and efficient for our general contractors, we'll standardize, what's being done with each unit. HUD requires a certain percentage of the units to be ADA compliant. So they have to be accessible handicap-wise. So those units will receive a special rehab, but all the rest will pretty much get the same rehab.
So we're talking like upgrades to kitchens and like that kind of thing? Like, what are we talking here?
It'll be all new appliances in every unit, new sinks, toilets, new paint, new flooring, new fixtures, new lighting, new windows, new HVAC systems, new water heaters. So it's pretty all-encompassing.
So essentially new apartments.
New everything, yeah.
Okay.
But it's a $60,000 per unit renovation. A big chunk of the money is just going to buy the thing, right? So to your point, Mr. Bollea, I think there is some sort of wheeling and dealing going on here, which seems an unfortunate use of our tax dollars too. It's always a bit frustrating. I don't know what to offer other than if you are not for it, I will join you in that. But
we can. I'm okay, I guess, providing preliminary.
I would talk about that before. I'm not interrupting you, but it needs to be now and not later, because they're going to make business decisions based on that preliminary approval that are quite costly to undo.
Yeah. They're assuming if they get preliminary approval and then do all their due diligence, then they're in for big bucks.
Yeah.
All right, that's helpful.
If I can interject on the point the councilman just made, the $60,000 per unit does not pay for anything to do with the purchase price. That's simply rehab. So that's $60,000 a unit being spent solely on rehab. Yeah, that's a real cost.
Gotcha.
And that comes out to around $11 million.
Okay.
Okay, so to everybody's point, and again, thanks for helping the new guy here. At some point, we'll be able to say I'm the new guy. I don't know how long my honeymoon period is.
Today.
But I don't know if I could approve this without knowing to what extent this is going to be a hardship for existing residents. I appreciate the fact that these improvements sound really, really good, right? But we don't know what the individual residents think, and we don't know what sort of hardship this is going to be on them if their rent goes up $200-300 a month.
Is there a way to get us that information, like based on, if you have like the lowest, if somebody's getting 50% versus somebody's getting 85 to 90%, can you kind of come back with this is how much this person A, versus person D is going to, see what kind of increase they're going to see?
Yeah, for sure.
So just to clarify something, so they're paying their rent based on a percentage of their income. How does the rent change influence that? If their income stays the same, rent goes from $1,000 to $1,500, how does that influence what they may be paying, if at all? It'll just the thing that everybody's trying to get.
So whatever their percentage is, it'll increase that much of that increase.
Yeah, I mean,
That's what you're asking, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
Most of that is covered by that HAB. I'm the tax credit consultant on this deal, so I'm just jumping in right here.
Thanks for jumping.
But when they do that mark to market, most of that increase, it doesn't really get passed on to the tenant. Some of it might if somebody's had somebody makes close to 60% of the area median income, but most of it's covered by that HAP contract.
Right.
So.
and as an additional note, this is an elderly property, so all the tenants have to be 55 and above. So a majority of these tenants don't work, so they don't have any income.
Gotcha.
So they wouldn't bear the burden of any kind of rent increase because they don't have any income.
Okay, but if somebody is 58 years old and they're making $60,000 a year, for example, do we know if their rent will increase?
It will be marginal because of the HAP contract.
Okay, but what's marginal?
Yeah, I think we're just looking for concrete, like if you could give us numbers, say, in the range, the lowest to the highest, what that would be. Are they only going to see $50 a month, or are they going to see $200 a month? Like, because that's a big difference for people. Like that could be substantial, consequential in their life, to be able to come up with that extra $200 a month, especially if they don't have, an income base, a job. So if we could get that, I think that would help us to make a decision.
Yeah, I can do that.
And to your point, Dr. Day, about the rent going up, of course, now that means we're all covering the rent indirectly, right? And And so we're sort of fueling this inflationary madness in our housing situation. That could be argued. I'm not.
Well, I mean, but the reality is, places need to be kept up to date, right? Like, you can't just let places,
Dilapidate.
right,
That's
be
an $11 million
dilapidated.
bond issue.
There's no other vehicle for a deal this size with a HAP contract to be able to rehab the property. There's no other vehicle that I know of.
Okay.
So
You're saying it should be at cost. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
I'm not saying anything about should. I'm just saying the annoying mathematics of all this, right?
Gotcha.
Which is I'm hearing an $11 million rehab, long overdue, tied to a purchase deal, which will make millions for somebody, kind of sort of on the backs of the taxpayers, which is how this works.
I mean, there's
To take it cynically.
there's an argument to be made that the advantages of upgrading a property that has not had any sort of facility improvements in 30 years outweigh sort of marginal rent increases.
How did that happen?
For folks. There's not, but we just don't know. I don't feel like we have enough details to kind of weigh the costs, weigh the advantages and the disadvantages.
So the detail you're missing is the potential rent increase for a select number of tenants.
Or maybe even if it's not specific to each individual tenant for all the 100+ units, but maybe just some ballpark figures to help us understand. Someone in this income range may see an increase at this level.
Okay.
Something like that.
Right, the lowest amount versus the highest, like, who's going to end up,
Yeah. So Sydney, could we table approval of this pending that information?
this deal, we have an application date with the state agency on Monday the 13th. If we don't have the inducement resolution from a meeting, doesn't have to be this meeting, but a meeting, then we don't qualify for the low-income housing tax credits.
because of the deadline.
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
So conversely, if we give you the preliminary approval and you go through with, moving ahead, and then you come back for the actual approval, and then you say with this range, and we're like, I don't know, we're not down with that, then you guys have invested quite a bit.
Yes, but I really don't think there's going to be that much of a swing for the tenants. I mean, these mark-to-markets happen often, and they're supposed to help the developer cover expenses. So it's supposed to avoid increasing tenant rents. It is supposed to help the developer with inflationary expenses, insurance, taxes, those sort of things. So, and those mark-to-markets, you can only do them every so often. You can't do them, like every year. So
We can only do them when we do a rehab.
yeah. Gotcha.
So that's at the quickest every 15 years. So this property's never received a markup to market.
Do you anticipate that any resident's rent will increase by more than $100?
No.
I mean, is there a way to kind of, is there a way to get that in writing or get some sort of assurance that that's going to be the case?
Sure, yeah, I don't see why not.
Well, I mean, I don't know how we would get that right now. I mean, it just seems like we have to. It seems like what you guys are saying is, if we don't approve this now, without having all the information that we're asking for, then then you guys aren't going to be able to move forward with the project. Is that correct?
Yeah. I mean, I think these mark-to-markets and these HAP contracts are fairly normal on these projects, and I know you guys haven't seen one. I mean, I know they've come through here before, but if that's something, if we had, we might be able to step out in the hall and kind of see what we can pull together.
Yeah, I can call it
Can you do that?
That was one of my questions.
Do
How
these
long would it
others?
take you to give them some range of what?
not long. I'm trying to find it on our network.
So maybe we can table them
So
toward
let's,
the end of the
can
agenda.
we just
Give us some time.
postpone for right now? We'll
Okay.
hear the others, and then hopefully.
Yeah, if you just give me like 10 minutes, I can.
Okay.
Sure.
And then maybe additionally to that, if whatever one is quicker, I guess we would also want to know if that's not possible, and I'm not saying it's not. I guess the thinking around if that were to happen, what would happen to the tenant? And I don't know if that's something you can determine quickly, but if it were to be more than $100, then what is the care plan for the tenants so that we're not just left feeling, oh, well, hell, if you fall in that category. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're not left with an untenable situation where they have nowhere to go.
This project is 100% of a housing assistance payment project. I mean, it's 100% HAP. So these tenants aren't. There's probably not anyone in there making $60,000. Like I would probably.
No, most of them don't have income.
Yeah, I mean it's. I mean, I don't think there's going to be much increase in the income at all.
Okay.
So.
Well, if you can try and find out while we're.
Okay.
I move that we table item 4 until we've processed the next 2 items after 6 and approximately 10 minutes in light of the request for more information about potential rent changes as well as outcomes for the potentially displaced present residents.
Second.
All right.
Through the chair.
Yeah. So it's been properly moved and seconded. We'll postpone preliminary approval for item 4.
You should record a vote from the committee
Oh,
to
yes.
table, actually, and someone else should second, ideally, not the chair.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Okay. It's been properly moved and seconded that we table item 4 to after item 6 for preliminary approval. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thanks, Chris.
Ms. Barnett, I have just a general question that relates to what we've just dealt with. What happens, I mean, what are the consequences if the developer makes certain representations to us and then, 3-4 years down the road or 6 months down the road, we find out that wasn't the case?
Well, you've made an approval based on certain factual information that's been provided to you, and depending how far we want to take it, it can be built into the loan documents, certain reporting back to the board. I mean, there are mechanisms we could put in place. So, I mean, they could be.
Has that been done before?
They would be in default.
And could we incorporate that upon after final approval?
I think it's something that can be discussed in terms of how, are you going to give them any latitude? I mean, how hard and fast are those with the ever-changing marketplace? What may make sense today? Is it something you're going to want to revisit maybe on an annual basis? This is the type of information we want to see and want to review. So I think those are all things that you could discuss.
Hannah, you had a question?
Yeah, I was just going to offer our capacity as a city that perhaps we could also share information on what other compliance and monitoring already would exist on different types of deals so that you could kind of know and have a sense of, oh, that's going to be already very stringent, or like, oh, we should maybe have additional protections built in here if there's less federal or state involvement.
Right, okay.
Because I think part of my concern is the urgency. So it being brought to us, and now we're at having to make a decision, and it seems as if for them or whoever comes in that they're needing an answer immediately, or they'll miss the deal. It's the urgency factor. So is there something in place to where if there is a certain deadline that, because they're not sure if we're going to approve it or not, that they would bring it to us sooner, or is this just how it kind of happens?
THGA typically has 2 windows each calendar year where they accept applicants. And the priorities of THGA also tend to change year to year. Those that work with the program know that. And so a lot of times we don't know until as late as December, perhaps, what the program's going to look like for the following year. And so late last year, we saw a lot of folks already coming before the board for preliminary requests. Well, there's always a few more, which is the entire agenda today, a few more that have either just gotten an option on a property or for other reasons weren't able to come. And so everyone, including the board, gets squeezed. The calendar gets tight. And so this particular cycle with THA opened February 17th and ends March 13th. And so
What's the window again?
it's February 17th to March 13th. And so it's a pretty tight tentatively July, but
Okay.
that sometimes
Gotcha.
changes. Yes, and it's also availability if THCA has additional availability. So yeah, the calendar gets tight on all ends, including the boards.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Okay.
I think that's an important point, though, because it makes this process almost like perfunctory. Like, the board becomes the bad guy if there was a question that we weren't
Correct.
right, and that's like, well, then are we just rubber stamping or right? So I appreciate the
We want to
statement.
be able to clearly, consciously
Right.
make decisions,
Yes.
and not based on rushing. Yes.
And just to add, Cindy, maybe it's something where we can put back early in the application process where information like that is required. That may help expedite a decision if the board is willing to approve.
Yes, I think the board could continue to improve what information you would like to see before anyone comes before you.
Yeah.
So we can continue to improve because, we just pass what is provided to us, but we can continue to
can evaluate
request
the
additional
criteria.
information.
I would definitely say if it's a rent increase or potential rent increase, that we need that information. Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yeah, because we always ask, what's the plan for, moving them around during any kind of rehab? And we'd like to know, as far as rent increase, what kind of impact that has on the residents.
Should we make this an agenda item for our next meeting? What requirements we want to impose on people coming before the board?
I think maybe when we get down to old business,
We can
we can discuss it there, before we close for today.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Yeah, just so we don't miss it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That'd be good.
All right, let's go to agenda item number 5 for preliminary approval. We have Park East Point seeking $43 million. How are you?
Good, how are you? Good afternoon, I'm Curtis Thomas with MDHA. Park Point East is a part of the Envision Casey transformation, which is a resident-led planning process to transform Casey from a site that was concentrated poverty into a mixed-income, mixed-use community. Part of the strategy is to not displace residents, but do a complete replacement of all the subsidized units on the property in these new developments while bringing in workforce and market rate units as well. We did that by starting with development on open spaces so we could move residents straight into new units and then begin demolishing where they previously lived. So this is a development that's in that category, replacing where we have done some demolitions. It's 203 units. 105 of those are replacement units for the subsidized units at Casey. 28 are workforce, which for us is 80 to 120% of the area median income. And then the remaining 70 are market rate, which is above 120% of the area median income. This development consists of 2 apartment buildings that have the majority of the units, and then 24 of the units are in a series of townhomes. This is directly across the street from the new Central Park that's kind of the civic hub of the Casey development, so these residents would face out onto that park. The 105 subsidized units do come with a subsidy, so those residents would continue to only pay 30% of their income through a HUD formula that determines their share of the rent, and the remainder is covered by the subsidy. The internal to the development, there's some additional amenities such as laundry. The units come with laundry, but there are lounges, workout rooms, and spaces like that.
Okay. So with this being new ground-up development, how will you all determine who gets access to the units? What's that process?
So the 105 units that are subsidy are for existing Casey residents. As we bring these new developments online, residents that have been a part of this process get the priority to come in. And then as lease-up begins, the overall development at Casey has a waiting list for people to be selected.
Okay. Who have already been in that community?
Correct.
Okay. Is this the last development on this for this whole site plan, or is there more coming?
There's much more coming.
Okay.
This is the first project that we've brought before you. We've typically done 9% tax credits and other HUD loan programs for these developments. This is the first Casey development that's using bonds and 4% tax credits.
Gotcha. Okay. Anyone else have any comments, questions? Are you gonna ask? Okay, I thought
is being from HUD.
MDHA.
MDHA, sorry, MDHA. All right, so the principals of the actual 43 million are a different group?
It's the ownership entity for the project,
Okay.
which is MDHA subsidiary is a general partner of that.
I see.
So that's
Okay.
how we maintain our.
So it's all public funds things, public entities through and through, as I understand that roughly.
Yes, the partnership is how tax credit investors can enter the project as a part of that deal structure with us. But MDHA is the ultimate owner.
Anyone else have any questions? All right, seeing that this is a project that requires a public hearing, I'll now open the floor for the public hearing. Anyone here to speak for or against this development? No? Okay. Well, I'll now close the public hearing and entertain a motion from the board for preliminary approval.
Second.
All right, so properly moved and seconded that we offer preliminary approval to Park Point East. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you for your consideration.
Okay, next up we have for preliminary approval, Madison Station Phase 1 seeking $50 million. Hey, how are you?
Doing well. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Josh Haston. I'm here representing LDG Development. We've been here before with you guys. This will be our, I think, 6th project here in Nashville. Different with this project is we're actually partnering with the Urban League to help bring services and all sorts of great amenities to this project. This is a phenomenal location to develop affordable housing. If you're not familiar with this project or this area, it is. We have under contract about 6 acres of a larger 32-acre tract. It's already part of a mixed-use development, but the owner of the rest of the site plans to sell off additional portions of the site to develop market-rate housing. So this is about the only opportunity to build inclusionary housing within this community. The type of zoning with this project, you're building a whole new neighborhood. It's, again, 32 acres. A lot of people. So LDG and the Urban League are really excited about this project and the ability to include affordable housing at a range of levels. With this project, we are utilizing a strategy called income averaging. So that allows us to serve incomes all the way up to 80% AMI and as well as below 60% AMI. We've already applied for Barnes funds on this project, so we hope to serve even lower incomes because of that. So we're, again, wanting to serve a broad range of incomes in this property to provide long-term affordability with the project. Additionally, I mean, we have great amenities with the project. We're already including like a pool, and we want a dog park, and all the typical market rate things that aren't always common in affordable housing. So we're trying very much to obliterate every stigma that's tied to affordable housing and to give our residents the best quality housing that they can have. So with that, I'll cede the floor and take any questions you guys have.
One question. I noticed that you all were getting or wanting to get funding from Amazon. How are you in that process?
Great question. So our project that we last spoke to you guys about in December, that project also had Amazon funding. And so we are hoping to apply for that as soon as the portal becomes available. We have a good track record, I mean, honestly, so we feel good about getting access to those funds.
Is the deal contingent upon receipt of Amazon funds?
Because it's in such a prime location, the land price is very high.
Okay.
So the Amazon financing is definitely going to make it possible.
Okay. And so it's like an existing shopping plaza that's going to be...
Yeah, so the shopping plaza, I believe, was built in like 1958. It used to be like the premier shopping center before Rivergate opened, before Cool Springs, Green Hills, all that. Like it had its own JCPenney's and Levy's, if you're familiar with your Nashville history. So it was Madison's downtown center, and there's already plans in place to make sure that it becomes Madison's new downtown center as it's revitalized. stabilized. So
Will there be other affordable unit properties in that site, or will this be?
So I don't have that ability to determine that because we don't have control of those. I would love to see more
For
affordable
the tract
housing.
that you own, will it be the only one?
It'll be the only one.
Okay. All right.
Where is it in relation to Old Hickory and Gallatin? Is it north or south?
So it's on Gallatin Pikes, just south of Old Hickory, about a quarter mile.
Okay, yeah, that's a great area.
Just north of Bradley Parkway, right? Is it close?
It's north of Bradley Parkway, about a mile, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's what I was looking at. It's north of Bradley Parkway. Let's see here. Neely's Penny Roads, like right in that area. Yeah. Can you speak to the Urban League's involvement in the project? How are they involved? What's that look
Great
like?
question. So we're still in the beginning process of that. We have a signed MOU, and we're working hard to figure out what that looks like.
Okay.
The intent is they're part of the ownership structure.
So they'll have financial interest?
Exactly.
Okay, so not just from a support services side?
Correct.
So will they be investing financially?
So that's part of the ongoing conversations.
Okay.
Our current MOU does not have them investing as a part of it, but they will be receiving some of the remuneration that comes from this transaction. The idea is that we're building this stable partnership so that the Urban League is able to get financing to reinvest within their own programs that they already have.
Okay.
We want to do a pay it forward kind of thing.
Gotcha.
You might have mentioned this, and I just missed it. Did you say the size of the units?
So it's going to range. So it's a mix of 1s, 2s, and 3s that we're planning on. So our typical 1-bedrooms are about 850. Our typical 2-bedrooms are about 1,085, and our typical 3-bedrooms are about 1,250.
When do you anticipate construction beginning?
The goal is by December.
By December.
Yeah, that all depends on how quickly, A, if we get awarded funding from THDA, and B, if we can get permits approved.
So we're looking at units coming online 2025, or?
Yeah, it'll probably be like a 24, 28-month construction process. There's not as much topography as some of our previous deals. Again, partly due to the high land cost. So, but there's a significant amount of infrastructure improvements required with this. So, lots of, people talk about Laurel House and the Gulch. This is going to be the Laurel House of Madison.
Oh, okay.
Because they're going to have super wide sidewalks, tree boulevards. Other phases are going to have a lot of ground floor retail. I'm talking, it's the downtown center of Madison.
You may or may not know the answer to this, but have you heard anything about transit improvements along this corridor that may benefit residents there?
Yeah, great. So there's already transit stops along the frontage. So Donaldson's Library is actually, I think, the busiest or one of the busiest stops on the 56 line.
Okay.
On the south, get my orientation here. In another phase of the development, there's actually plans for a transit plaza.
Okay.
So kind of what they're doing on 26th and Clarksville Pike.
Gotcha.
Kind of same idea.
Same deal. Okay. Like a hub there.
Exactly.
Do you know if the developer's going to allow for green space?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a big part of the plan. Yeah.
Okay.
I see the library's pretty close.
Yeah, so right next door to the property is 50 Forward Madison. So we're trying to work on partnerships with them to make sure their residents have access to affordable housing. There's already plans for a pocket park right across the street that we're waiting for the capital improvements budget to be approved. So that park is going to have everything you want. Your walking distance to the Donaldson Library, and then other phases also have green space improvements as a part of them. In later phases, if you guys have ever been to Pond City Market in Atlanta, so right across the street there's Freedom Park. There's
On the belt line.
Yeah, so that's kind of the idea that they want in terms of.
There's a developer doing that in Germantown now. The same developer from Ponce.
Oh yeah, Jim Irwin's the man.
Yeah. Last question I have, and I just lost it. Go ahead, Chris.
I can go. So this is for phase 1.
Correct.
$50 million, 250 units. Amazon money is coming, so you can buy the entire site. As I'm looking at the plan, am I right that the sort of this existing shopping center stays for a bit while the phase 1 and 2 go up, and then later it goes away and it's replaced with new stuff?
Correct.
And so how how many sort of, what kind of tower are we looking at to accommodate 250 units in that?
Yeah, so it's probably going to be like a 5-story building.
Okay, all right.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and that's tied to the NUGA zoning, so you're kind of limited on your height. And honestly, it gets more expensive. Once you go above 75 feet, you have a different type of commercial code.
And is that, so parking garage under kind of thing?
So no, that's really expensive and hard to insure. So there'll be a precast parking deck.
What parking deck?
Precast.
Oh, gotcha.
So
Okay. Yeah.
they call it a wrap, if you're familiar with that terminology.
I see now. Okay, that's in the picture. Well, okay, great.
All over the city.
I'm done.
So my last question was, I remembered it. How will you identify or determine who gets access to these units? What's that process look like?
Great question. So we're again working through that process right now. The way we've done it previously is we form our own website tied to the website. We advertise on apartments.com. Again, we've got a portfolio. By the time that this breaks ground, it was finalized, we'll have over 1,000 units in Nashville already that have waiting lists, so we can pull from those waiting lists as well. And then again, our partnerships that we're hoping to form with 50 Forward as well.
Now, I asked that question. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm just wondering, because I heard you mention website, is there a way that somebody who does not have access to technology, is not, tech savvy, that they would find out about it?
Yeah, so
like community centers, or like, is that kind of
totally. So great question. Part of our plan is to help communicate with 50 Forward in terms of actually showing up in their offices, because they have a lot of exercise equipment there. There's a lot of events there. So that's part of our plan, is to actually show up
so
on
that's
site.
a great point, which went back to my question and concern, is that and from talking to folks in the community, a lot of these projects come online and folks that need the units aren't able to get to them, right? The traditional approaches catch a certain audience, but maybe not everybody that's intended to be a resident here. So I just urge you guys to consider non-traditional approaches to outreach in the community around to get the word out.
Totally. I hope that's part of what our partnership with the Urban League can bring out as well.
Sure. Gotcha.
I just love that you raised that point. When you think about the issues of a balance, I mean, we're sort of subsidizing Amazon at some level, right? We have to think about it. If they don't broaden the appeal to the wider community, that's a problem. It's tricky. Good use of tax money.
This is a really tricky thing. We need the units, but we also need people who need them to get the units too. Any other comments or questions from the board? All right. So at this time, I'll open a public hearing. Is there anyone that would like to speak for or against this project? All right, seeing as there's no one here to speak for or against, I'll close the public hearing and I'll now entertain a motion from the board to consider preliminary approval.
I move.
Second. All right, it's been properly moved and seconded that we grant preliminary approval to Madison Station in the amount of $50 million. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right, so we will now go back to NHC Nashville Christian Towers and reopen our discussion.
So I have good news. Just confirm with my superior, the nature of this markup-to-market request would not leave any tenant paying more than they are currently. HUD will be covering the difference between the current rents and the post-rehab rents.
Awesome. Okay, that's good. And is there a window of time that expires, or is that for the entirety of this new financing structure?
That is, those new rents kick in after we complete construction, so post-rehab.
Okay.
And then each year we'll get what's called an OCAF adjustment, which is a 3% adjustment for inflation. So that's kind of the nature of how HAB contracts work.
Okay.
And how long is the HAB for?
It will be renewed for 30 years.
At this time, 30 years.
Once we close.
Once you
yes.
close, gotcha.
Or once we receive HUD approval.
Okay.
So, Ms. Barnett, we can build into the loan documents that other than inflationary increases, there'll be no other rent increases for the existing residents, with the exception of income increases.
There's already rent restrictions. If we're awarded the low-income housing tax credits, we'll have a land use restricted covenant on that property for 30 years. It'll be 15 compliance period years.
Through THDA?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I'm understanding this. So there will already be restrictions that will prevent any sort of rent increase for someone whose income does not increase.
There's income restrictions on there already,
Right,
and for the HAP as well. So it's already encumbered that way. But with the land use restricted covenant, no one in there can be over 60% of it, or it might be less than that with the HAP. 40% area median income.
It's, 40% of the units at 60% area median income, and then the rest are less. So.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so let's go back a little bit. So my understanding from what you just said 2 minutes ago is that we're not going to see any increases for folks whose incomes stay the same. Did I get that correct?
Well, correct. There will be no increases associated with the markup to market over what the tenants are currently paying. HUD is going to cover the difference between the 1035 and whatever we get approved for, probably around 1,500.
So they're going to cover all of it?
Yes.
Okay, so then I guess my question is, and you're saying you already face restrictions. I mean, I still don't see the harm in building that into our loan documents.
There are different levels of restrictions that are recorded on the property. Some are already on the property. Then HUD will have their own updated restrictions. THDA has restrictions that are placed on it. Bond issues for these types of affordable housing property have another level of restrictions. I don't know if you're getting any other outside funds. We talked at the last meeting, Amazon has a whole nother layer of restriction. So back to Hannah's point earlier, there are a lot of other agencies that are involved on an ongoing basis that review rents, and it's quite a process to go through, and you've got to be in continuous compliance or you default all the way through the whole waterfall. So I think the question is that we can discuss maybe later in the meeting is, to what extent do you want the board to also become part of the compliance review group, for lack of a better description, and is that something you want to be doing? And it may vary depending what the project is and what the restrictions are, but I think what they're saying is these governmental entities that are involved in the project and with the tenants and the financing all have their own restrictions in place. They're recorded at closing.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
And those restrictions would prevent a rent increase,
Unless...
other than an
Yes.
income change.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Any more questions? Very good. All right. If there are no other questions from the board, then at this time I'll open a public hearing for this proposal. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this project? All right. At this time I'll close the public hearing, and I will entertain a motion from the board for preliminary approval for NHC Nashville Christian Towers.
I'll move.
Second.
All right, so properly moved and seconded that we offer preliminary approval to NHC Nashville Christian Towers in the amount of $26 million. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for getting that information.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, so we have some information items Cindy presented to us.
Yes, these are all the reports that were included in your packages. These are all the financings that came before the board the end of the year, and every one of them closed. And so those
Gotcha.
are all complete.
Gotcha. I looked through all those. We already signed all that.
All
Yeah,
those are done. Those are all we include reports from the last meeting, so those are all the ones that have closed since the last meeting.
Awesome. Okay. All right. So we can move down to old business. We had from a prior agenda discussion of board legal representation, which we can talk about in this setting. Also, the conversation that we just had about what type of compliance this board can offer to these deals. So maybe let's start with that first, and then we'll go to the second item. Cindy, to the point that you were making earlier, what if our board is more in a reporting chain to just know what's happening with the deals? Maybe less oversight unless we're capable of doing that, but definitely reporting if there are changes that make sense.
I think that's right. I think it's worthy of discussion what you would like to know on an ongoing basis, or if you see a lot of what I call repeat customers that come frequently to the board, but you certainly could ask for, to receive updates at certain milestones in the project, even as they're, being built and once they're up and rented. And, I think those are all topics for you all to discuss, what you'd be interested in seeing going forward.
What do we have or not, what can or can we not do as a board? Can we ask for compliance in terms of developers meeting certain guidelines after we've granted approval to a deal?
I think what you should think about, and we'll let Matt weigh in as the other lawyer here at the table, but, once you ask for it, you need to think about what are you going to do with it. And if you see something, then what do you, once you have it, then you have it. And so what recourse do you have at that point? And you just need to think about those types of things. And I think the point that was being made on the last discussion was there are governmental authorities in the chain already over THDA. I can assure you they have lots of reporting, and they are very strict. And if you don't meet their deadlines, then you will know. And so you don't necessarily have the capacity to be that involved in things, and I don't know that you really want to. You're not permitted by statute to get into operational matters, so I think it's, we just need to think about what is it that you really want to know going forward. The good news is you're not getting default statements. You're not reading about any of these properties in the paper because they are under such strict review by the entities that are already overseeing them. That would be a different issue we'd be discussing. So that's the good news. But clearly, you're approving these financings or considering them, so, you need to, and I'm not sure you can decide this today, but what types of information would you want all the way through on the front end? You've never had what I'll call a formal application. Maybe we're kind of getting more to that so that you're getting consistent information and you're looking, you can kind of compare better if everybody's providing. So just think food for thought, things to think about.
That's what I was thinking. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
As Cindy was speaking, is like, maybe there's a rubric that we want to develop that kind of touches on, because we also tend to have the similar type questions that we always want to go to, and we wait for the overview of the presentation and then we drill down. And so maybe it doesn't have to be exhaustive, where it is, challenging or overwhelming, but at the same time, there might be 3 to 5 key criteria, a rubric that is a part of the application process, so we also have more control over what we review and what we get, and that could also mitigate some of the question asking, because we're intentionally eliciting that information on the front end, and we know that those are core values, so to speak, to the members of the board, and that information's already been provided.
I love that idea.
What do they get? Like when somebody says, I want to come before the board, what do they get from us that says, here's what you need to come with? Do they get anything?
Well, that's a great question, because at this moment in time, we're the contact. And so, someone will say, we've got Vanderbilt, we'd like to come to the board. We're building new dorms or whatever. And so over time, the board has said, well, ask them for this, this, and this. And so we need, fundamental information even to do the public notice for the meeting so the public knows what's coming. And then we always ask them to send us some type of executive summary that, we don't know what you're doing. The board doesn't know. I don't know. Send me something to pass on to the board, and you can tell from your packets, some provide a lot more information than others, and so it's really across the board. And so we ask them to provide, a site map, provide us, your plans for the property, who's the company, who are the principals behind it. Sometimes we get more than others, and so we bring them to you. So I think, this rubric would be helpful to us as well. So if we're contacting, we can say, this is what the board wants. I think that'd make it easier for us as well.
That brings up an interesting question. How does, let's say that there's just some random developer in Nashville who could be eligible for these funds. How do people come to know about this and that it's an option for them for financing a development?
That's a really great question.
Yeah.
I don't know if we've got people in our audience that deal with these types.
What I'll say is LDG develops in like 8 different states, and the programs that are required to use, like 4% deals, you need tax-exempt bonds. And so pretty much every city that you're developing 4% deals in has the same types of quasi-governmental boards that have pretty much the same authorities to do this in.
Gotcha.
So it's kind of a known whether you're going to go through an equivalent of THDA or a local entity.
Okay.
So in Tennessee, LDG knows that we're going to go through the Health Net Board or the IDB in pretty much every city that we go to, whereas in Louisiana, where I also run deals, we know that the state agency, or LHC in this case, would be the issuer of those bonds.
Gotcha.
Is it complicated to categorize the incoming requests into like, okay, you want to do an entirely new build, you want to do rehab build, you want to do, I don't know, something that's like actually dorm related or education related or whatever, so that those questions, so they're not having to go like, it doesn't apply to me that we're, redoing a kitchen space because I'm building a whole new unit, like it's something that doesn't exist already. Like, is that too complicated to kind of, so that those...
I don't think so. I mean, what's easiest for you to review? Do you want it more a check the box or fill in the blank, or so it's probably some both. Give them these are there are only so many options that can come through this board. So, are you new affordable housing? Are you existing affordable housing? Are you a university? I mean, it's maybe there's a way to try to
and some kind of like impact statement of how it's going to impact if there are current residents.
Yes.
That how it's going to impact them, or what their plan is for the transitions, or however whatever it is, just to kind of so that so we don't have another one of these where somebody's like under the gun, like, oh my God, we're not going to get this, and we're going to miss the whole thing.
Well, I think that's right, and this was someone that had not been before the board before and was not necessarily familiar with what to bring.
So Sydney, can you put this down for us to discuss at the next meeting, and I'll take up the effort to go and do some research to see what may be out there in terms of applications or forms that entities like this use that we may be able to.
Sure, and we work with boards all over the state, and obviously have access to other states' information as well, so we can help gather.
I'm certain this has been done somewhere else before, right? We just can take.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Correct. Yeah.
There's always an opportunity to sharpen, our approach.
Yeah, but I think that'll definitely help because we have the same questions. Chris definitely does. I do.
Absolutely.
At the same time, I would like to point out that I think it's the very diversity of this board that was the intention of the creators in the first place, right? And we've had this discussion in different ways in the board over past years. Yeah. Years ago, we had the discussion, and a member said, our sole job is to look at a deal, and say, does it check the boxes of these various regulatory agencies? Is the bond deal clean? Great, check. My personal thing is, well, you don't need me to be here to do that. Surely you want me to think about the community impact, potential costs. Right. What are we building as a city, and just have that sort of conscience from the community. If it wasn't for that, why are we fooling with the board? Right. That's my personal take, and so we might have different perspectives on it. I think we should say, yeah, that's okay. At the end of the day, we vote, and off it goes. Right. Yeah. So I wouldn't over automate, perhaps.
And I suggested not to say that it I think if it's information that we're going to want to hear regardless, then it it frees up time to ask other questions. Like, I'm not saying that it means that it's just, but it's good, you know, so that's kind of my angle of like, okay, then that's something that we already have, and now the same varying diverse questions that we will have as individuals, we can still have room for. And I think it also says it's incumbent on, you know, presenters to know some of these things that we think are very important. Sure. So anyway, that's just to elaborate a little bit.
Yes. I think it's a great idea. I think it's terrific. I will say that there are some things that we're not going to anticipate, and there are going to be some developers that who are going to come here and make certain representations, like just totally hypothetical, like we are not going to need to clear any trees, you know, in the construction of this project, right? And then 3 months go by. I'm not saying this has happened, right? But just it's certainly possible, right? 3 months go by, and we get a call, or we drive by the site that we know, and all 15 trees are down, right? Right. So the question is, what recourse do we have? Like, we can't, as a board, we couldn't sue for fraud, right? We're not you know. Sure. So I think one of the things we may want to think about is if somebody makes certain representations that we think are material and are instrumental to our decision to vote yes, do we want to build those into the loan documents so that if they if they don't do what they said they're going to do, they would be involved?
Yeah. Thanks for all the feedback on this. I think I hear everybody's comments. I think we can definitely look at what's out there, not over-automate, but catch some of these basic requirements, come up with something that makes sense, and I think it may expedite our meetings going forward.
Shall I attempt a motion to get this to the minutes properly?
Yes, please.
So I move that we continue at our next meeting a discussion around the potential rubric or additional guidelines to streamline applications, and as such that we receive the existing intake paperwork from our council in email over the coming time, and that our chair brings back a bit of research on his own, and simultaneously encourage all of us to participate in thinking through this in the intervening time.
Sure. I love it. Second. All right, it's been probably moved and seconded, so we will add this to our upcoming meeting agenda. Thank you, Chris. Couldn't have said it better.
All in favor, aye.
All in favor, aye. All right, so last thing, we have board legal representation. Now, we talked about this last year, and we're continuing the conversation on this. We have Hannah Davis here and Josh Thomas, and I'd love to just give Hannah a few minutes briefly just to talk about why, from the pilot program perspective, legal representation is important, and then I'd like for Josh to add any additional context.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to. So I think one thing that comes to mind as you guys, I love this conversation because it's things we're talking about at the city level too, like what kind of standards should we have that are uniform across all of our programs that really prioritize residents and housing security, you know, using best practices in the research that we have about our city. So that's something that comes to mind is the opportunity to kind of formalize the relationship between the city and this board. And I don't want to step out of turn, but this would be my pitch is the state provides this board a lot of authority, and I think that our division and other departments could be of service in helping you kind of answer some of these questions and maximize the utility and authority given to this board to be part of the strategic efforts to advance our goals towards housing security on our side, and then I'm sure health has their goals as well. So it came up, you know, a year ago I had no pitch about this, but through my work on the mixed income pilot, realizing, you know, we don't have the opportunity to act as your finance department and hold funds and then pay for compliance or spot checks if you wanted to do that. And then that it came up with the legal representation, which is you know, more serious in terms of being able to draft the mixed income pilot documents. And so I know that Industrial Development Board and other boards have an intergovernmental agreement that kind of, you know, outlines this is what the city's going to do for this board and takes that, adds adds that quasi-governmental piece to the front of the quasi-governmental board. So I believe right now you all are an independent board, and so there would be an opportunity to kind of formalize the relationship. But one of the pieces, of course, there's the kind of legal finance, but one of the pieces I think that provides the greatest opportunity is to make sure that you all have the information you need to make informed choices and kind of see the whole picture that this kind of enormous state authority is operating within, and then our staff and other Metro staff can be of service to you in answering some of these questions.
Thank you, Hannah. And just to clarify, and Chris, I'll let you jump in here in a second. We talked initially about board representation for the board itself, right? But this is about an intergovernmental agreement between our board and Metro government to have legal representation there. So those are separate. So I wanted to make sure I clarified that. I didn't earlier. Thank you, Hannah. Chris, go ahead.
Well, I thought it might be good to make sure everyone's completely, it was sort of complex, right? This motion, we talked about how the Industrial Development Board has adopted a 5-year review process for their bond council, and that we may want to have such a thing too. And so I put out a motion which had some sort of action steps, hopefully, to move that ahead. I won't read all that again now, but the gist of it, I think, would be fair to say Dr. Ade was going to work, subject to the availability of an intergovernmental agreement, which would be wonderful to, I guess, approve today, was going to work with Mr. Turner and perhaps form a committee to begin this exploration. So I don't know. I look forward to learning if we got any progress.
I think that was kind of like a two-part thing, right? So the intergovernmental agreement, then bond council, which was something that we were going to consider secondary. So I think this conversation is just on.
We're right on the intergovernmental agreement. Okay, so I'm ready to approve it if there's a motion or whatever. We don't have one.
Well, not yet. I wanted to give Josh just an opportunity to share some context, if you don't mind.
Sure, and I appreciate you giving the clarification, because when I first came to speak to you folks, it was about the bond council. You guys were going to sort of start the process, or considering starting the process to engage and look for bond council. That's a separate issue than what Hannah's talking about, which is dealing with the affordable housing mixed income pilot. So let me just focus on the latter here just for a second. So as you know, Metro passed an ordinance, I guess, back in the last half of last year, I guess, or
22. Yeah.
Okay. Which basically allowed this board to have some limited authority to approve pilots for mixed income housing. And the way that the ordinance was set up was that it had basically the planning division, the housing in the planning department would help provide this sort of administrative support for you. But unfortunately, the ordinance did not really consider the legal and financial aspects of it. And so because you guys are separate from Metro, us as Metro Legal, we're not able to represent you unless we have an intergovernmental agreement. So there are a number of legal documents that will be associated with you guys approving these pilot programs that come before you that are going to need to be reviewed, and someone's going to give you the okay that they're okay to sign. And if there are any questions come up, to answer those legal questions for you. And right now, Metro Legal is not able to provide that assistance for you. So in order for us to do that, we will need some sort of intergovernmental agreement to do that. The second part of it is the finance aspect of it. Because again, you guys are separate, Metro cannot hold any funds for you. So we cannot serve as sort of a bank account for you. In order to do that, we will also need an intergovernmental agreement specifically for the affordable housing mixed income pilot program that says Metro basically can provide that support to you as well. So what Hannah's here to talk about, and what we're discussing right now on affordable housing, is do you guys want Metro Legal to do that for you? But you also have the option to also engage outside counsel if you want to do that as well. But I do know that there is a bit of a timing issue, at least right now, because I know you've gotten several, I think, folks have come before you and got preliminary approval. So if you decide to go the second route where you want to use outside counsel, you're going to have a gap there where you're probably going to need legal counsel. You're probably going to need some finance to help with administration of the funds related to the program as well. So the short is that there probably needs to be some sort of intergovernmental agreement in place that allows Metro to assist you, whether it's in the interim or in the long term. But that's a decision that the board needs to make. That's how they want to move forward.
And to that point, were we out of order in approving prior pilots without that representation, or?
I don't know which what you initially approved, but if I understand correctly, I think planning reviewed all those documents.
Okay.
And I don't think there was there any huge legal aspects of those documents that I recall? So I think you were probably fine there.
Okay.
I think just going forward, there's going to be a pilot agreement that needs to be negotiated and done. You'll need someone to review that and draft those documents, which Hannah mentioned. And I'm assuming the way this is structured is also that the Health and Ed Board is going to take ownership of those properties. And so then there's going to need to be a lease agreement that's going to be between the Health and Ed Board and that particular developer, which also will need to be negotiated and approved. And so when you get to that point, you're going to need legal representation for that.
All right, this is something really complicated now. I don't think that's what I signed up for.
So to kind of go back to what we were originally discussing, if I'm remembering correctly, and if I'm not, obviously, please let me know, but I thought originally we were discussing Metro Legal helping us send out and review the RFPs if we were going to bid out,
Yes,
if we were going to bid
that is correct. That is correct. But this was brought to my attention, so I asked Cindy to have it on the table to discuss as a board today, because it's a secondary piece to our initial conversation, if that makes sense, which has a bit more urgency attached to it.
Can I get you to explain again about the lease part? Backtrack a little bit.
So the way pilots work is that you have an instrumentality, which in this case would be the Health and Ed Board. They actually take ownership of the property, and that's how it gets taken off the property rolls. It's no longer subject to tax. And so the Health and Ed Board technically will own the property, and then you will enter into a lease agreement with the actual developer to actually basically have a leasehold interest in the property. So it sounds a little bit more complicated than it is, because the lease will basically govern all the responsibilities and duties, but from a technical legal sense, the Health and Ed Board owns the property, and then you enter into a lease agreement with the actual developer to actually be able to be in the property itself. And I may defer to Sydney if I'm not saying anything.
You're doing fine. You're doing sorry. Just for information purposes, on your bond program, MDHA frequently offers a pilot on those, and MDHA takes title. You are not involved in those, but just for your information, certain projects that come through this board already have pilots. This new program is strictly for projects that are not coming through the bond program. It does not include those. So
What was the reasoning behind creating this new?
The mixed income pilot?
Okay.
What was the reasoning?
No, for us becoming owners of.
So in other states, the municipality can adjust the tax bill as a way to incentivize affordable housing. The state of Tennessee, as I understand the law, which is very vaguely, they do not have that authority to adjust individual tax bills. So there's certain entities that are given the authority to be able to go through this payment in lieu of tax, which is the pilot acronym. And those include the Housing Authority, the Industrial Development Board. So I think they currently hold about 15 deeds.
I think so.
And then
we mentioned, this was before my time in my current role, but there was some discussion of doing this program through the IDB, but because of some requirement in state law, they were not going to be able to do the program as it was being considered at the time. So basically, the Health and Ed Board was really the only instrumentality that was available.
So what does that look like for IADB to continuously hold 15 deeds, and is there a process that reporting? What comes with that?
There's a reporting process. I will say it's pretty streamlined. I mean, essentially, I'm trying to think the best way to explain to respond to your question, because it's not that complicated. I feel like I may have made it a little bit more complicated than it is. I mean, obviously, there's a lot in the front end where we have to negotiate and do the documents, but from after that, it's pretty streamlined. Finance every year generates a quote-unquote tax bill for them to pay. There is annual reporting that has to be done with the state, but that's pretty streamlined as well. So it's not too cumbersome or complicated. That's kind of what's underlying.
So where do the funds to pay the tax bill come from for IDB?
So the whoever is leasing the property or who's actually in the property, they're paying that.
I got you. Okay. But bill to IDB because they're leasing the property to the developer, so that payment has to come through some kind of pass-through?
Well, technically the way it works, I mean, finance just sends a bill to whoever the developer is, and then they just pay Metro, and it just goes into the general fund.
Okay. Okay, that's interesting.
So who do we have who's responsible for the board to keep up with, like, say we end up with 15, over the course of however many years that this, goes on. Who keeps up with all of that? Like, who keeps up with them paying it on, their payments on time? Like, where, because obviously we're not doing that. So who do we hire? So do we have an outside?
So, and Hannah may want to respond to this, but I think the way that the legislation is set up is that the housing division is basically your administrative body that's helping you with that.
Okay. And that's all the monitoring compliance is written into the legislation, and then as Josh mentioned, would be written into the lease and the legal documents.
And that comes with this intergovernmental agreement. Is that a part of that, or is that just?
The intergovernmental agreement allows Metro Legal to be the party to help us draft those documents rather than outside counsel.
Gotcha.
The way it's set up right now, housing already can assist you with administering the program. It's just the portion of it involving legal representation and finance being able to handle funds on your behalf. That part needs to be done. Needs to be in the intergovernmental agreement in order for us to be able to do that.
I'm sorry this wasn't on the agenda. We should have said, for the purposes of pilot, we need this. I think it was hinted at earlier that this might be coming. I love our Nashville government, and in general, I'm inclined to say, yes, please do it. I would have loved the time to have gone back through our structural documents here on the board. I want to make sure that we're all in, if we're going to be having accounts with potentially millions of dollars flying around, I want to make sure I'm indemnified from what could go wrong. I'm sure that's in the document, but I'm not, having not read it today, I'm not sure like I'd like to be. What would be the next step? I can imagine this group would like to move forward with you. What do you need from us to do the next thing?
I think it's acceptable to say that we need more time to review. I wouldn't. It's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's totally okay.
To that end, I'm confused why, or not confused, but I guess the question is why can't our current outside counsel review documents that are related to the pilot program?
I think that's a decision for you to make with your outside counsel.
Can that happen now? Is that happening now?
It's a new program, and so I think we're just having all these conversations in terms of who should be doing what.
Gotcha.
And so I think, as Isaac has said, it's a separate question if that's something Metro Legal would do. In the past, there have been, I would say, a few pilots over the years that Metro Legal handled the drafting, the negotiations with the developer, and then that would be presented to the board. And we would strictly review what had been prepared by Metro Legal to make sure it had all the proper indemnities, had all the, typical representations of the board and nothing unusual to protect the board, but that was our only lookout. And so something similar perhaps would be done with this, is that Metro Legal would, if you enter into an intergovernmental agreement and formalize for this program, as being suggested that Metro Legal would draft, but then it would be possible we may still, since we're, or whoever your counsel is, review just strictly from the board's perspective.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible.
That's another option.
But go ahead, Chris.
Well, again, we're talking about the duration of these things, right? One is a potentially multi-decade holding of a deed. Yeah. Under the auspices of this thing, right? And if law firms come and go and merge and what have you, are we creating downstream headaches for ourselves by having that outside the government?
Yeah, that's a great question.
And I don't disagree at all. I think that's the reason perhaps you want to consider seriously an intergovernmental agreement for this program that, the administration at Metro is whose.
And so, Chris, to your earlier point, I wanted us to have this conversation because it backed into our initial, if that makes sense. Yeah.
I have one more question. Is there a cap on how many of these that this board can approve?
There's a dollar amount but not a total amount.
Okay. Per year
annual
or
dollar.
like in totality?
Well, right now, we only have one additional allocation of $3 million approved, and anything else would have to come from council, we don't have the ability to go and add more until council makes that decision as part of the upcoming budget.
Restated, we already spent this year, so to speak.
You've given preliminary approval for 5
Yeah.
parcels for that $3 million.
Okay. And that $3 million is per year?
Yes, for the first
cycle?
Right. Not for the full 15 years, it decreases, but basically.
Okay.
Is there a time where
That's my question.
anyone predicts, it may be this,
Okay, it may not.
I'm on
Go
a
ahead.
different planet right now.
Okay. I retract. It's not my question.
This is just a hypothetical, but is there a time where you all could see another program created like this prior to these conversations happening, where we then as a board have to kind of back into how we manage it versus having those conversations up front?
No, I would like to, I think when we came before the legislation was passed last year, the conversations maybe weren't to this place. It was also, post-COVID. I think, some of the faces are new. So I think the board seems to be having really rich, robust discussions now. And so I think one piece of the intergovernmental agreement is that kind of, gives the green light for Metro staff to spend maybe additional capacity, and we could come and workshop new ideas. The authority, of course, is given by council, so they could do something, but I think anything that we would be exploring, that's how it works with our housing commission, and there's like a collaborative kind of more upstream relationship.
Gotcha.
I mean, I guess we could all kick in $5,000 and find a law firm to do some of this work for us. That would be, but that's kind of an issue too. We have no budget to do these things, right?
For sure.
Let me just have a shot at your question about another structure.
Yeah.
I think that's an involved thing. Like my read of our founding documents is that this pilot thing is sort of, you'll find it stuck on as an addendum in the 80s, 90s, something like this, and it's been used on and off as our council activated it or not, right? And so something else would require the legislature doing something, and we can estimate the chance of any help for Nashville at
Not happening.
0. Okay.
I had 2 questions. Are there certain aspects of our current work that Metro Council is currently involved with, or would this be the beginning of that?
I don't know of anything.
I'll just copy that.
Okay, yeah.
I'm Berkeley Allen, also on the Metro Council with Councilmember Van Reese here. And in a few minutes, another group is going to be meeting that's looking at tax abatement strategies that we have or might want to have in the future, and just sort of trying to comprehensively look at the city's policy or lack thereof. And so it's helpful to be in part of this discussion to just get a further appreciation for what points to bring y'all in, because as Hannah mentioned, I took this to the IDB several years ago, and then legal counsel said, actually, there's something in state code that says the IDB can't do this. Health and Ed is the place you need to go, so we circled back around to y'all, and it's taken a while to get to that point. Well, I've been involved in it. So I appreciate where we've gotten to at this point, and certainly you learn as you go along. So I would invite y'all to be part of the discussion that this committee is going to have between now and July, just looking at, do we want to continue to use this tax abatement strategy for housing? Would we want to expand it to early childhood education? Because that's another thing that's really important. Whatever. So that's a discussion that's officially ongoing right now that should result in a report in July to the council.
Okay.
That would possibly end up in policy. So
Gotcha.
I'm happy to get together with you and talk about a schedule of when y'all can have some cross-pollination with that group.
Yep. I'm fine with that. It's a lot for us to consider. Go ahead.
Yeah. And I guess my second question is, if I'm tracking this correctly, because those pilots were approved, we're already in motion. So what's the timeline that I guess we need to make a decision so that we are prepared to handle the obligations that are attached to the things that we've already approved?
I think we're covered based on what we've approved. It's just what new applicants are coming up, right?
I'll I'll let Hannah speak to that. I'll just mention as far as if you guys do decide to move forward to use Metro, what's going to have to happen is you folks are going to need to approve the agreement here, and then we're going to take it to council also for approval. So, we may be talking about a month process there just for the approval part of it as well.
Gotcha.
And I don't know if there is any timing issues or any deadlines that we have that we need to be thinking about.
There's the current preliminary approvals are like in a holding pattern until we have legal counsel that can bring those documents to the closing point.
Okay.
So that's the
What's that
urgency on
window
ours.
of time look like?
I'm waiting on that before I open the next round of applications, so it's just delaying, housing production, which of course is our top priority.
With there was the 4 to 5 that we reviewed.
Right, that's what I'm
They're
saying.
on hold, essentially.
Right.
What you're saying.
Until there is council in place. Right. So then we have to make a decision about.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
some of it's not just like
Yeah.
as we ponder. there are
Sure.
production things associated with things. Okay.
So clearly we need to decide on whether or not we're going to have an intergovernmental agreement, right?
Right.
Whether that is through Metro legal or through some outside legal representation. That sounds like our first decision point. And attached to that is the ability to hold funds. So that would either be through Metro legal or some outside entity they'd have.
I don't want to volunteer a lawyer, but a lawyer in theory, I guess they could also hold.
They could also hold funds, right? Yeah. So that would be the first thing that we have to consider, which would then inform the secondary thing that Chris presented a motion on in December about our overall bond council. And I think we probably look at one leading to the other.
Right.
Yeah. Depending on you all's comfort level, I'll entertain a motion as to whether or not we should move forward with developing an intergovernmental agreement with Metro Legal or not.
So do we need an intergovernmental agreement with Metro Legal?
I'm sorry. We need to make a decision on having an intergovernmental agreement with Metro Legal or with outside counsel.
But don't we also need it, or do we also need an intergovernmental agreement with Metro or Metro Planning? I thought that was also part of the...
So I think if you do the intergovernmental agreement, it would need to cover basically both legal and finance. The agreement itself will be with Metro, but it will be for us to provide the legal and finance.
And that's IDB has the same thing in place. It covers both. One intergovernmental agreement.
Okay. And then, in addition, you talked about either working with Metro Legal or outside counsel, but there's also a scenario where we can kind of do both, right?
So if I'm hearing it correctly, right now we have bond counsel, right? That is something that we've as a board discussed what that looks like.
Right.
That's separate from today's conversation, which is having representation for the pilot program specifically, which could be Metro Legal, and we could still have our current bond counsel to support the board.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, those would be two separate things. Or they could be one, and we can make that decision as a board. So I think the question is, do we move forward with intergovernmental agreement? Let me restate this. Do we move forward with identifying legal representation for this pilot program, and is that Metro government or outside counsel? I think that's the question at hand.
We're moving forward with the discussion of that, or that we are saying that.
So I think it's either we want to, as a board, we want to pursue an intergovernmental agreement, yes, let's move forward, or we need more information to make that decision.
Right, okay.
I'm all 40. If I'm not seconding quite, but I think I've got a draft motion here that might encompass that and a couple of other steps. And if it's too far, we'll stop. But so the motion to advance consideration of Metro Council's offer of an intergovernmental agreement with Metro Legal, and to ask Josh Turner's office to draft an agreement which would allow 1, Metro Legal to manage all aspects of the pilot program, legal and finance. 2, to manage the process of reviewing the bond council review process per the motion of December 2022. With this motion, this board expects to review the draft agreement at our next meeting, so long as each member receives an advanced copy of the draft a week before.
I'm fine with that's in line with what we've already discussed, so.
You're the chair, so I'm making that motion. We need a second from...
I can't second it, but. I'm fine with it. Yeah.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, so it's probably moved and seconded that we move forward with this idea of intergovernmental agreement as well as review of outside bond counsel. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Aye-ish, is that what I'm?
No, yeah. It was circling in my mind.
yeah.
So I was, yes.
Now, this is the point where you say, well, we can't do that. Is it about right?
No, that's fine. And,
Okay.
intergovernmental agreement will not take that much time since we already have a model, so I don't know when your next meeting is scheduled.
Yeah, we don't know yet.
That's why we said the next meeting.
So Cindy, would you be able to communicate with Josh, or I can communicate based on our, okay, all right.
Absolutely.
I mean, if I can make a general point to the two council members present here, these are details that should have been worked out before now, and it really should have been the council that worked out these details ahead of time. I mean, we're 6 months into this program.
In epilogue, you heard me chime in that that's been a frustration all along, right? This not only that, but the full accounting of how the tax. Yeah. So I second your gripe.
Duly noted.
That was part of my question of like the timeline because we're already in it. So we've got to figure out how to be responsive. Yeah.
And ultimately, we gave preliminary approval, and they're kind of sitting on ice at this point. So,
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think we've covered it all. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Oh, there was one thing. Sorry. No, hang on. Last time, you had a motion to ask the gentleman from Joseph that his approval would be subject to returning to give more information, but I didn't see that particular firm on the agenda. Is there news on that one?
I mean, he's not. I mean, he wasn't on the agenda today, so
I don't think there's any update yet.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
It was preliminary approval pending more information. Was that?
Right, but he's in the same cycle as some of these others, and so they're not deep enough into the project.
Okay.
Conversation.
They'll come back at some
They're
point.
not deep enough to answer your question yet, but they'll be back before
When
they
they are.
come for final approval. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
I'm up to date.
Oh, no, you have to
Okay. I was like,
You got it. What I was.
Sorry, don't move.
Why I did
you
what
had
I
a
did, right?
practice with every this one meeting.
Oh yeah, I didn't want you to feel like I was blowing over what you proposed.
Meeting, and I'm like, okay.
Somebody called me and I said, I can't make a decision on this. It's a board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.